Welcome to the Baseball Insiders. I'm Adam Weinrib, joined as always by Fansided MLB Insider Robert Murray, and we knew something was coming. Doing a fifth show this week. We did the winter meeting shows. We're here every day, and we're like, you know what? Let's tuck in a Friday show. Let's tuck in a Friday show. Let's coop in a Kyle Tucker Friday show, because Kyle Tucker to the Chicago Cubs. Official, finalized within the hour. Three pieces going back: Isaac Paredes, Cam Smith, and Hayden Wesneski, former Yankee, once upon a time traded for Scott Ross. But Devin Williams also went this morning. We did not see that. I did not see that coming. You might have seen that coming. The audience might have seen that coming. I don't know. But Devin Williams, Yankee, Caleb Durbin, and Nestor Cortez to the Brewers. And I think there might be more on the horizon. And to talk me through everything, as well as just updating on a couple names, answering your questions, is Robert Murray. Robert, welcome to the show. Welcome to the madness.
Welcome to the madness indeed. We have finally reached this point. The Tucker trade, no surprise. The Devin Williams one kind of came out of left field, but we've known for a while now that the Brewers have been talking about Devin Williams with a lot of different teams. I have a bunch of different insight here. Been talking to people all day. You will never believe it, but the Devin Williams trade happened while I was at the gym.
What?
So yeah, I mean, who could have seen that coming? I was not planking this time, but I was doing leg day today. But anyways, I'm ready to break it down. I got Cooper here with me. How are we doing, Adam?
Good. The Coot Man looks good. Let's break so much down. We'll obviously, again, get to your questions. We'll touch on I was going to touch on the Juan Soto press conference, but there's a lot to go over. A lot of things actually changed hands today. So we don't even need, we'll maybe briefly touch on it. But thank you for joining us, everyone. If you want to talk to us between shows, reminder to hit the join button under this video, become a member of the Baseball Insiders channel. Join at the Rumor Mill tier. You can talk to Robert and I between shows. Join at the All-Star tier. You get priority responses in the chat. You get private Q&As with Robert, with myself. We'll make sure to answer your questions and line them up for the show. Also, subscribe to the Moonshot, Fansided's MLB newsletter featuring insight and behind-the-scenes analysis from Robert and the team, as well as humor, the best in the big league. So sign up for that email blast. Big weekend coming. I think probably more news. I might shave this beard, thinking about it. I don't know. You guys might see me looking a little bit different on Monday, but that won't be the biggest change of the weekend. Let's start with Kyle Tucker, because it is the most trending trade, the thing that just crossed the finish line. And the Chicago Cubs get the bat they need. He would have been the Cubs WAR leader last year, and he played 78 games. So if that doesn't tell you all you need to know, it should. But if it doesn't, look at the play on the field. Rental, if the Yankees had made this trade, I see people in the comments smoking on that Yankee pack. But again, if the Yankees had traded a bunch of assets like Luis Heel and company for 1 year of an outfielder, I think you guys would have laughed at them as well, with a $400 million extension or free agent deal looming after the season ends. Regardless, Yankees were involved. I think the Phillies were involved, but the Cubs seemed like the front runner from the beginning. They give the Astros a package they can't resist, and Paredes plugs in at third base, presumably in Houston, and makes the Crawford boxes into his own personal sandbox, because those are 168 feet away and prime territory for him to just torpedo based on all of his overlays and splits. Quick thoughts, immediate reactions to this deal getting done.
Yeah, as far as the Tucker trade goes, they have been talking about different scenarios here with the Chicago Cubs and also with the New York Yankees. And there's been other teams that have been involved in this as well, especially when a guy like Kyle Tucker is being talked about in trades. There's going to be numerous teams that check in to see what exactly it's going to take. But the Yankees, they were not willing to meet the Astros' asking price, which immediately put the Chicago Cubs into the pole position here for Kyle Tucker. And this was a move that the Cubs had to make. The fan base was incredibly frustrated, and rightfully so. The amount of times I was asked, is Jed sleeping? Is like, what exactly is going on here? I mean, it was a lot, but honestly, it was warranted. And I think the Ricketts had more to just were the ones to blame more so than Jed. But they stepped up here. They ended up getting a deal done for Tucker, and he instantly bolsters that lineup. And Tucker, to me, is one of the most underappreciated and underrated players in baseball. He is an absolute star. He's one of the better players in baseball, especially when he's healthy. He was on the IL for a good portion of last year, and I think people kind of forgot how good he was. As far as what this trade means for the Cubs now and going forward, instantly bolsters the lineup, gives them a power hitter, gives them one of the best young players in baseball. But as far as an extension goes, I've seen the buzz on Twitter all over the place. I would be absolutely stunned if Tucker signed an extension before he reached free agency at the end of the year. So I would not get your hopes up there, Cubs fans, but you have Tucker for at least one season, and this should be the first of more moves that they make. And hopefully they continue to add, because the Cubs need to operate like a big market team, not a small market team.
And I presume that they're not going to immediately Mike Piazza Kyle Tucker and trade him to the Yankees by the end of the weekend, right? That assumption is correct.
I think your assumption is correct.
All right, well, there you go, guys. I tried. What about from the Astros perspective? Because third baseman in Paredes, he can also play first. Third base prospect in Cam Smith. If the writing wasn't on the wall for Alex Bregman before this moment, I think it's pretty safe to say the writing is on the wall now. We've heard the Astros connected from the beginning because it was sort of hard to envision him in another uniform. The Red Sox have been involved. Their position changes afoot there. The Yankees somehow got involved this week, and wouldn't you know it, the Yankees traded the man that Brian Cashman called the odds-on favorite to be their opening day second baseman, Caleb Durbin, today for Devin Williams. So I can't help but think that the door might be open for both the Red Sox and Yankees to go to battle on another free agent here in Bregman. But thoughts on Bregman and thoughts on the Astros position as well.
Yeah, I'll never rule the Astros out, just because, I mean, they made it abundantly clear, as one of my favorite phrases comes back around here, but they made it very clear at the start of the offseason that Bregman was their top priority. And with him still on the market, I got to imagine they'll continue to try. But they obviously have Cam Smith now, who is an incredibly talented young player. And parting with him for a potential one-year rental has got to be a real tough blow for the Cubs. But this is a move that they had to make. And this was the price that they had to pay. It's going to hurt now. It's going to hurt going forward. But he's going to be a long-term fixture for the Astros there. And maybe that doesn't necessarily make the Bregman fit more. And maybe it lessens the Bregman fit in Houston, but they love the player. So I'll never rule anything out. But I would imagine the Red Sox and Yankees will still be involved in this as well. I think Santander makes a lot of sense for the Astros as well, now that Tucker's gone. So we'll see there. But to me, is the Bregman sweepstakes is not decided. It had begun to heat up in previous days. I don't know where it stands now necessarily, but there's going to be a bunch of different teams that get involved in this as well.
Sorry, Robbie paying for the super chat only for me to have just brought it up, but good stuff. We'll see where the Bregman stuff lands by the end of this. Well, Devin Williams is a New York Yankee. The beard gone, maybe a mustache. People are saying. I think they're probably right on that. I think Devin Williams will go mustache. Big deal. The Yankees added Max Fried so that they could mess with a little bit of their starting pitching depth. And we're all thinking, is it going to be Luis Heel in a Kyle Tucker trade? Is Heel expendable somewhere? What about Clark Schmidt? We knew they want to get rid of Marcus Stroman. Nothing changed there. But they ultimately deal Nestor Cortez along with Durbin, who is someone we've heard they really like. And he just slotted in at 15th on MLB Pipeline's top 30 for the Brewers. I like him a lot. Joey Ortiz maybe over to short in Adames' place. Durbin to third. Terang, incredible defensive infield, it seems, in Milwaukee. And if Nestor Cortez is healthy, they could do it again. That's 160, 170 innings of high threes, low fours ERA baseball if the elbow holds up. That's very valuable to a team like the Brewers, who believe they can replace Williams internally. But the Yankees do get the final year of one of, if not the best closer in baseball. We were talking before the show, it's a good old-fashioned baseball trade.
No, it is a good old-fashioned baseball trade. And I think this move makes a ton of sense for both of these teams. And I'll start with the Yankees, is they had to add an established arm in the late innings. And getting Devin Williams puts him immediately in the ninth inning, allows them to use Luke Weaver and potentially a multi-inning role, which is what he ended up thriving in last year. And it makes so much sense for the Yankees. I would imagine they'll continue to try to bolster the bullpen. But getting Williams, at least for a year, he's signed to a decent salary. He's not going to be making he'll be around the 10 million mark, maybe a little bit less than that in terms of his salary for next year. And who knows exactly what ends up happening after that. But as far as the Brewers' perspective from this, I think Williams is a player they had to trade. And we saw, he obviously had that collapse at the end, allowing that 3-run homer to Pete Alonso in the playoffs. And it ended the Brewers season in just a heartbeat. And it felt a lot like the moment where Trent Grisham ended up letting that fly ball go past him in Washington, where it was such a key and bad moment that it felt like the Brewers had to move on. And obviously, he had punched a wall in a couple of years ago. It made him miss significant time, and he was also entering the final year of his contract. And this is classic time, Cooper. Classic time for the Brewers to move on, which is what they did with Corbin Burns and Josh Hader in previous years. But you look at the return; they get Nestor Cortez, who is an innings eater. He's also got 1 year remaining on his contract, but it gives them stability for at least one season in the rotation, but also getting a guy like Caleb Durbin. I had one scout call him a very polarizing prospect, and he is 5'6". He steals a ton of bases, will play in the infield from Milwaukee. And going back and looking at history, the one player that Pat Murphy has coached and he has an incredible relationship with him is Dustin Pedroia.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the comp that I believe that the Brewers have internally for Durbin here. That's a very big comp. Don't want to put pressure on him, but I texted somebody about it and asked, and the response was it's hard not to see the similarities there. So that is the comp for me here is Dustin Pedroia, and what better person to coach him than Dustin Pedroia's old coach from his days in Arizona State.
That was certainly my comp as a Yankee fan watching him develop in the system as well. You're thinking, is there any chance that we can maybe have our own Pedroia? And the answer is, well, maybe, but he's a Brewer now. So we will see. I am glad he gets a chance. I am glad that the Yankees get their end of this deal as well. Devin Williams, good fit, especially for a team that Mets fans might not be thinking that the Yankees are trying to win now, but I assure you that they are. They are trying to win every year, and they have been over 500 since 1992. So over 500 is not the goal, but yeah, they're trying to win now. They're trying to win later. They're going to continue trying to win. And they're going to, if a situation arises like this one, they're going to take advantage of it. You can be assured of that. Anything else that you have your eyes out for? Anything in the notebook since we last spoke that you're keeping watch for? And then we'll get to I do want to get your thoughts on the Soto press conference because I want unbiased, non-Yankee related thoughts. Then we'll get to a few questions.
Yeah, I'll start with the things that are in my notebook while it's still fresh. The one that I'm watching is Cody Bellinger here.
Mm-hmm.
He's drawn pretty strong trade interest from a bunch of teams, but especially the New York Yankees being one of them. And I'm not nothing is done by any means, but I think that's one to watch in the coming days here for sure. As far as the Soto press conference, I thought it was business as usual. And I did think it was very interesting that Bob Nightingale ended up reporting that he switched his phone number because he ended up getting just blown up from a bunch of different people. But I thought it was fine. I thought it was very strange seeing him in a Mets uniform. It's going to take a lot of time getting used to that. I also thought one of the things that did stand out to me was we've seen obviously the Starling Marte trade rumors, but he was one of the first players that Soto mentioned that he's excited to play with. So I don't know if that has any special meaning or whatnot, but that was something that I thought was kind of interesting, and we'll see what the Mets ultimately do. But also, what a savage comment from Scott Boras when he ended up saying that he doesn't talk about the bridesmaids when talking about the Yankees after that. That was Boras has some pretty good one-liners. That was pretty savage. I'm not going to lie. And thank you, Cooper. I appreciate that.
What's up, Coop? Yeah, that was a bit of look, did my eyes roll out of the back of my head? Sure, a little bit, but it was a good one. Boras has every right to talk. He closed this monstrous pace-setting deal that he set out to close. And Juan Soto, again, making $45 million more over the length of this deal with the Mets than he would have with the Yankees. And the signing bonus is absurd. So the Yankees bid, the Mets outbid. The conventional wisdom all along with Steve Cohen would top him by $50 million. He pretty much did. It's $45 million with all those escalators. So a long path to get to a familiar place at the end of the Soto negotiations. It was pretty much what everyone said would happen. And then it did. It just went in sort of a strange direction. So if Juan Soto really did change his phone number and his Yankee teammates couldn't contact him, I mean, sure, interesting. I did see him FaceTiming with Donovan Mitchell right after the signing went down. So maybe he only gave Donovan Mitchell his new number. I don't know.
No, exactly. Oh, who knows? But also another part of this too is I want to go back to the Kyle Tucker trade.
Yeah.
I mentioned Santander as a potential fit there. I also would not be surprised whatsoever if the Astros targeted another left-handed hitter. I think that is one of the things they're going to end up being on their bucket list to try to accomplish here the rest of the offseason. I don't have any names necessarily, but left-handed hitter could be something to watch there in Houston.
Awesome. Well, Houston obviously not packing it in. Paredes is big league talent. Cam Smith is pretty close and a fast riser. So we'll see where the Astros go from here. Hayden Wesneski, Texas native, slots right into that staff, whether it's rotation or bullpen. That's a good haul if the Yankees wanted to hold Luis Gil out of the deal. That's certainly I think that's probably a better haul than what the Yankees were putting together, even if Luis Gil is in that trade. But we'll never know. We'll see. And the Cubs get it done, and Tucker will more than likely hit free agency at the end of the year, and it'll be open season from that point forward. Even Cooper could potentially sign him at that juncture.
Cooper has significant interest in Kyle Tucker. MLB Deadline News, you can aggregate that one. But significant interest in Kyle Tucker.
Yeah, go ahead and aggregate us there. I see. Gonna get to a couple of questions, and we did want to talk Teoscar Hernandez's market on this show anyway. Red Sox folks are asking questions ranging from Red Sox to which right-handed bat are the Red Sox aiming for. Teoscar Hernandez, we know they're in that market. We know the Dodgers are in that market as well. Not sure how else that has developed, but any thoughts on Hernandez? The gulf we've heard with the Dodgers, does it still exist? Is that one going to take a while?
Yeah, I still, as I've said in previous shows, I expect Teoscar Hernandez to eventually end up back with the Dodgers. It's just taking longer than I think either side would prefer. And especially you heard Teoscar ended up mentioning it after they won the World Series, is he 1,000% wanted to go back to LA. And I mean, that probably did not necessarily help in terms of leverage purposes by any means. But there's other teams that are involved that are interested, like the Red Sox, the Blue Jays. We even saw Vladimir Guerrero Jr. post a picture with Teoscar Hernandez the other day. I believe they're working out together. At least that's kind of what the picture indicated. Mm-hmm. But my guess is, or my read is that the Dodgers remain the team to beat here. It's just taken longer than anyone really kind of anticipated here.
Cool. Well, obviously we have to keep an eye on that. In addition, plenty of Dodgers questions about Tanner Scott to LA. We know the Dodgers were after Devin Williams at some point. We heard the names paired together more often than not. So Devin Williams off the market, although can be had as a free agent next year. I would suspect the Dodgers might not want to play in that expensive free agent market, but they could also just hop the line right now, go get Scott. And that would be especially juicy. It would be like a way lower key version of the Mets and Juan Soto taking him from the Yankees after the Padres surrendered 4 top 10 prospects for 2 months of Tanner Scott. Don't get out of the DS. Now the Dodgers could just use money, splash it on him and get him. Anything that you're hearing there about the Dodgers and Scott, or just Scott's market now that Williams is off the board?
Yeah, there is widespread interest in Tanner Scott, and the Dodgers are among the teams that are interested in Scott. And Fabian Ardaya was on top of the interest in Tanner Scott between the Dodgers and Scott here. I think there's, especially with the Yankees seemingly not involved. It's possible they could try to put together a super bullpen. I mean, you never know. But I think Scott is the natural pivot point here for the Dodgers. It makes a ton of sense to me. They've got the funds to do it. And I don't know of anything close or anything done there, but I think the fit makes a lot of sense. And there is absolutely interest there between both sides. There was a question about the Padres that I wanted to answer. We had a super chat in there that I wanted to do.
I was about to go hand off that one as well about Arenado to the Padres because of the Mike Schilt connection, Joseph Cuevas, or Padres news in general. Appreciate you sending that in. Definitely want to hit on Arenado before the end of the show, especially because third base market, heating up now that Paredes has taken that Alex Bregman spot, presumably, we think.
Yeah, presumably. But the Padres have, I think one thing we've learned this offseason and been pretty adamant about is that they have limited funds to play with this offseason. And having a guy like Arenado who has a huge salary, to me, does not really fit into the Padres' plans unless the Cardinals end up paying down significant salary here, which maybe they do, but I don't think that's the most likely thing. I do like where your head's at, though, especially with the Schilt connection. So I would not get your hopes up there. But as far as Padres news, well, there's no news because they haven't signed anybody yet.
Didn't trade for Kyle Tucker, yeah. So
no, not yet. But they have been pretty active in looking in the catching market. I know they've made offers to a couple of different free agents throughout the course of the offseason here, but they have just not lined up on any deals there. I know one player that they did have interest in, or that they do have interest in, is James McCann, but there's a gap in money there. So I don't necessarily think that's the most likely thing. So what the Padres do after losing Higgy to Texas remains to be seen, but they are looking at the catching market, but the options are dwindling pretty good here.
I have one more Astros angle to hit too. I almost forgot we had an all-star question for Micah Julian asking if the Tucker trade makes trading Framber Valdez more likely. I mean, my unsourced opinion is yes, especially, I mean, the only thing standing in my way is saying, obviously, the Astros are getting MLB talent here. They're not packing in. They never do. And you can't rightly say, like, well, they got Hayden Wesneski, so who needs Framber Valdez? But if you keep him, you do have to be prepared to let him walk next offseason, potentially, quite likely. So does this change the calculus there in any way?
It's a really good question, and there has been interest in Framber Valdez, and I mean, obviously, it makes total sense, especially with how talented he is. I don't know the likelihood of a trade, but that being said, it makes all the sense for the Astros to listen here, because if you look at the pitching market, the prices here are astronomically high. They're very high, and they could be in a position to really take advantage of that pitching market. So to me, it makes sense, especially after you move a guy like Kyle Tucker. It would allow you to end up looking or building for life after both those players, and you'd be able to get a pretty good package in return for a guy who could depart in free agency. So I don't necessarily, as I said, I don't know the odds of a trade, but to me, it makes sense.
Awesome. Gonna go to the comments here as well for a few more before we sign off. Obviously, the stove still hot. Somebody said that my Mets sarcasm and coping is insufferable. Well, it's interesting because I kind of have been finding Mets fans insufferable the past couple days too. But guess what? I'm going to do you a favor now because we got people asking for Mets buzz. Cheddar, not going to read your last name, but made me laugh. Asking for potential Mets buzz a couple of times, and then some Mets comments further down. So anything they're working on now that Soto is official, because Starling Marte we heard on the block, but then Soto thanked Marte, so feels a little bit less likely. Mets still got to be looking to flesh out that rotation, you'd think.
Yeah, they're going to be looking to further add to the rotation. But they've continued to have conversations with Pete Alonso's agent, Scott Boras.
Yes.
And I mean, I heard Heyman mention that he thinks there's a chance that could get done on his stream on Bleacher Report, which you should go support that. Heyman's very good on that. But those are the two things that I'm really watching here with the Mets. And one thing that Stearns is really good at is looking between the margins here. He's very good at finding value, finding under the radar guys to sign and to either upgrade the offense or just pitching overall. Would not be surprised if he did that in the coming days, in the coming weeks. But yeah, as far as the big fish, I'd imagine Pete Alonso will be one of those big fish, and then just while having conversations with some free agents and maybe even some teams over trade about starting pitchers.
Awesome. Let's get to, I think I've ended a lot of these with awesome today. It's 5 shows in 5 days. I'm kind of just robotically doing awesome.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. We got a super chat asking for Luis Castillo to the Sox odds. Now, I apologize. We don't usually do odds on this show, but we did get a lot of questions about Castillo in Boston right in a row. So was going to hit that anyway. Another one, if you want, you can Venmo me $2. I will pay you back for that super chat. Same with Robbie earlier when I brought up your talking point before. You paid us $2 for a super chat. You both can Venmo me. I will respond. But Luis Castillo and the Red Sox, there was some back and forth. Peter Gammons even checked in yesterday to say that reports of Tristan Casas going to Seattle, that Seattle wasn't interested in the player, or implied that Seattle didn't think he was a good park fit, which he's certainly a worse park fit there than at Fenway, but he's also an incredible 40-homer bat at first base. So you take what you can get if you're Seattle. That said, we know the Red Sox and Mariners match up somewhat. Thoughts on what pitcher the Boston Red Sox could be targeting, whether it's Castillo's money or one of the young guys and they pay up?
Yeah, as far as the Red Sox and Castillo goes, there have been conversations. I will never put odds on it because that is a very dangerous game. Cooper, don't do that. Sorry about that. Yeah, he's currently being a bad boy right now. But as far as the Red Sox go, they've had conversations on numerous different fronts, both free agency and trade wise. They've had conversations with the Mariners about Luis Castillo. I don't believe Tristan Casas has been part of those conversations. I think the Mariners are looking elsewhere for answers on that. As far as different options, I should say, in a potential Castillo trade to Boston. So I still think it made no sense whatsoever to move a guy like Tristan Casas. Like, if I was a Red Sox, I would not come close to trading him unless I am just blown away with an offer. And having Devers and Casas long term in that infield, in the corner infield, is a really, really, really good thing. But I don't think the Red Sox are done bolstering this rotation. I think they should still pursue a guy like Corbin Burns. I thought it was interesting too that Heyman mentioned on his stream the possibility of the Rangers going after Corbin Burns, because they made a pretty serious offer for Max Fried, and the no state income tax thing was a big deal as well, and made their offer really intriguing to Fried. And so maybe that's another team to potentially watch here in the pitching market as well. Also, no Devondre Campbell news. I've got nothing there. That was bizarre last night, though. Yeah, I've never seen anything like that in quite some time. So not good for the Niners.
Yeah, I think we can break the Devondre Campbell news. I don't think he has a long-term future in San Francisco. So no news, just speculation. Dylan, I see your comment. Shout out to you as well. Apologies for tweaking you a little bit. I promise. I think the Mets hate will stop over the next 2 or 3 days, but we'll give you all the Mets news that we possibly can. Everybody, you're all the best. I'm even making peace with the Red Sox fans in this chat, so you never know what's going to go down on the Baseball Insiders. I just want to close with Phillies, because I think I sort of thought and hoped that maybe the Phillies would go crazy and get into the Tucker bidding. We didn't see that happen. And there was also a question here about the Phils and a different target. I lost it now. But either way, like next steps on Alec Boehm. And by the way, if you get rid of Alec Boehm, you could potentially bring in a winner like Bregman. We're waiting for that Dombrowski splash, and we haven't seen it yet. So thoughts on, they dangled Boehm on the trade market like a month ago, and we haven't made any real progress there. Thoughts on Philadelphia? You know something's coming.
Yeah, you always know something is coming when it comes to Philadelphia. It's just a matter of what when it comes to Dave Dombrowski, because he's one of the more active president of baseball operations in baseball, and he loves making the big deal. But the buzz that we had heard all entering the offseason is that they wanted to shake up their roster, not involving the core, or the big player core of where you had Wheeler, Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Schwarber, and maybe another 1 or 2 players in there. I think everybody else after that was fair game. And Boehm he's been involved in plenty of discussions. They have not been able to line up on anything there. But there is one team that I think makes a lot of sense here for Boehm, and I think it's Seattle. They're not willing to go into the big money market yet. I mean, maybe that changes if they end up trading one of their big salaries. I don't know. But I think Boehm is a low-cost addition for them. Makes a lot of sense there. Maybe a name to watch, but I got to admit, they're running a pretty tight ship there right now, because I have not gotten much Phillies buzz.
Well, let's say it with me again. Awesome. We'll obviously keep posted on the Phillies, because they got to do something.
And then also, too, as I want to answer this question from Ashay. I might be mispronouncing that. Tucker is not doing an extension as part of this trade. That is not happening.
Yeah, There we go. Thank you for the question. And Kyle Tucker, welcome to free agency next winter. It's going to get nuts. I just want to finish on this because we got a big flurry of Baltimore questions at the bottom. And I know there was sort of a very inflammatory Orioles related article that came out yesterday indicating that Mike Elias is halting Rubenstein's plan for big spending and wants to be the anti-Yankees and Dodgers. And some pretty serious accusations were being levied there. So I'm just going to give you the floor for a little bit to say, what is up with the Orioles? What is up with their plan for 2025 and comment on all that sort of swirling oddness there.
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to say about that article is I saw it. It is a very dangerous article to write. I would not have written it. And that article was reckless. So I would not have written that. Yeah, that's the only real thoughts I have on that story, which felt like a hit piece, and we don't do those in these parts. But as far as the Orioles go, they have to do something. They have to either go out and add a big name to the rotation, because Corbin Burns is still lingering on the market, and they've had questions in the rotation, even if they did have Burns. So I would look at doing that. I would also add, if I was the Orioles, I would go out and add some established veteran big leaguers to show the young core exactly how to win. And I mean, that's a complicated thing when you're talking about how to win, but you want to have guys who can teach these young guys, show them the ropes, get some veterans in their ear. I think those are the two big priorities here for the Orioles this offseason. Also looking to add to the bullpen as well, which, I mean, you can say that about every contending team. But those are the things that I'm watching right now. And that story was just, that was just not good. Drew, no updates on Cease, no Padres updates.
No. We hear you, though. Thank you for checking in again. Thanks, everyone, for joining in the comments. Thank you, everyone in the Discord. Again, subscribe if you haven't liked the video. That helps. Join the Discord right under the subscribe button. If you're interested, you can talk to us between shows. Subscribe to us on podcast platforms, too. There's an audio version of this. It'll make a little bit less sense because I won't be reading the comments and shouting out and getting into miniature fights with Mets fans and then shaking hands and making up by the end of the show. But I think you'll still enjoy it. Leave us a review there. Review us on anywhere that you can do that. We'd really appreciate it. And yes, you can give me 1 star if you want for my sarcasm. That's also totally cool. Join us next week. 3 shows. I'm going to be here on Monday. We're going to figure out schedule for the rest of the week as we approach the holidays. But 5 shows in 5 days, including travel back and forth to and from the winter meetings. Robert Murray, nobody does it like you.
No, I appreciate you guys. You're the best. Eric Lauer is going to the Blue Jays. That's a fun one. So that Toronto fans got that going for you.
There you go.
But no, we appreciate everyone who tuned into the show. Not possible without you guys. Not possible without Adam. Also not possible without our lovely producers, Joanne. We have Sean Daly, who is helping us today. He's doing the Lord's work over there. So we appreciate it. Sean. Go Birds. Big game against the Steelers. And we will see everyone back here. Well, I will not be here Monday, I don't believe. I'm beginning the drive from Scottsdale, Arizona to Sheboygan Falls, Wisconsin. So that'll be an absolute blast, but you can still read my stuff on Fansided. You can see some shorts on YouTube, and lots of good stuff, hopefully to break news while I'm on the show, or while I'm on the drive, I should say.
Well, yeah. Hopefully we get it. Eric Lauer, an original Blue Jays draft pick from 2013. So I don't know how many people out there knew that, but I'd call that a bit of a reunion. Thanks everybody for hanging with us today. Again, keep in touch with us next week. Turn your notifications on so you know when we're going live. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Joanne, for handling a lot this week. Thank you, Hunter, and the rest of the video team. And thank you, Robert Murray, for talking us through all of this, and hopefully more to come. I think we might have some more, hopefully, in the hopper soon. So it remains exciting. Somebody in the comments, nice hat, Adam. Chatham Squire fans in the crowd will shout me out online. We'll talk about the Squire. Until next show, I'm Adam Weinrib before Robert Murray. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.